we're just bombarded by this idea, aren't we?
Hmm.
It's everywhere. Movies, music, social media feeds this picture of love as like a lightning strike.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, exactly. That moment, you just stumble across the one, it's a missing piece, and it clicks perfectly into place, and boom, effortless happiness forever. No work needed.
It's a really comforting myth, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But what's so fascinating, and this is where Erich Fromm comes in, is that this whole way of thinking, this focus on finding the right object, the perfect person.
Right.
Fromm, psychoanalyst and philosopher, he called that modern humanity's biggest illusion, a complete misunderstanding.
And I think if you've ever felt that kind of predictable crash after the honeymoon phase wears off, that sinking feeling where even with the person you thought was the one, things still get hard or tiring or just stale, from his diagnosis is, well, it's profound and it's challenging. He basically insists love isn't this passive thing you find like finding a lost wallet.
No.
Or even just a feeling that washes over you. It's an active skill. He calls it an art.
It's a completely game-changing perspective, really, because it forces us to stop treating love like, I don't know, winning the lottery.
Yeah, a matter of chance.
And start treating it like mastering something difficult. Fromm argues quite strongly that if we want to succeed at love, we have to approach it with the same kind of dedication, the same effort, knowledge, practice.
Like becoming a surgeon or a concert pianist.
Precisely. Or a brilliant engineer. Those things take serious, sustained work. And he says if you don't put in that rigorous daily effort into loving even the most intense initial connection, well, it's inevitably going to fade.
Into just habit. Or familiarity.
Or worse, mutual disappointment, resentment even. It just decays without that active input.
So our mission today in this deep dive is to really get into Fromm's big work, The Art of Loving. We're going to try and dismantle this passive view of romance that's so common.
Explore why focusing just on being loved is actually, according to Fromm, a mistake, a deep one, rooted in some pretty fundamental anxieties.
Yeah, and then define those 4 essential components he identifies for practicing love as an art. And then, crucially, look at the practical steps, the how. How do we actually master this?
And just to be clear, this isn't, fluffy self-help advice.
No, definitely not. This is demanding stuff. It's philosophy applied directly to life, to relationships.
Yeah, and this shift in focus is just so vital. It changes the whole power dynamic, doesn't it, in terms of relationship success?
How so?
Well, it moves the conversation away from the external, the luck of meeting someone perfect for you, and puts the focus squarely on the internal, on our capacity, our ability to actually do the loving.
Okay, let's unpack this. So Fromm kicks things off with this really simple but actually quite radical question. Is love an art? Because, if the answer is yes...
then it changes everything.
Right. Like any other demanding art form, it needs serious application. You need the theory, the knowledge, and you need sustained, intentional effort, the practice.
And it's funny, isn't it? We're taught from when we're kids that, getting a good job or learning calculus takes years of hard work.
Totally. Hours of study, practice problems.
But somehow we assume that maybe the most vital skill for human happiness, the ability to love, that should just materialize out of thin air when we meet the right person.
Yeah, it's a bizarre double standard when you think about it.
And this assumption, Fromm argues, leads straight to what he sees as the core societal problem. This illusion of being loved.
The idea that the goal is to receive love, not give it.
Exactly. Modern people are almost entirely preoccupied with being loved, not with the act of loving. We think of falling in love as something that happens to us, an external event.
Like catching a cold almost.
In a way, yes, instead of seeing it as an internal power, something we actively generate and wield.
I think this is where Fromm really, really hits a nerve, especially in today's culture. Because the main question for most people looking for a partner isn't really, how can I get better at expressing love? Or how can I understand someone better?
No.
It's how can I be more attractive? How can I seem more successful? How can I be funnier, cooler, whatever, so that
the desirable object will choose me.
Exactly, so that they will love me. The focus is entirely self-directed towards becoming lovable.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture, Fromm says this attitude fuels what he calls the marketplace mentality in relationships.
Okay, explain that. Marketplace mentality.
It means we view the dating world, and even our own self-worth, through this very transactional, almost economic lens. We're constantly quantifying value, assigning
You
scores.
see that so clearly now, right?
Yes.
Especially with online dating. It's literally like shopping.
It is. We scroll through profiles, we're evaluating metrics, income range, looks, fitness level, degrees. We're consciously trying to find the best available product on the market.
And at the same time.
At the same time, we pour huge amounts of energy into packaging ourselves, presenting ourselves as the most appealing commodity we can be.
Right. Curating the profile, the photos, the bio.
All this self-improvement, but often aimed not at genuine inner growth, but at boosting our external appeal, our market value. We're essentially trying to sell ourselves.
And Fromm's point is,
His point is that this calculated consumerist approach, it fundamentally destroys the very essence of love. Love can't be about admiring a successful product or a shiny object.
it has to be an action.
Yes. A spontaneous, genuine, selfless action. If you're busy polishing your product and calculating your market value, you can't possibly be open enough, vulnerable enough to truly connect with another person, let alone actively love them.
That search, though, that passive transactional approach,
Mhm.
that doesn't usually come from a bad place, does it?
Mhm.
Fromm says it's fueled by something much deeper, more fundamental.
Oh, absolutely. It's driven by this desperate, intrinsic human need to escape our sense of separation. That's really the heavy philosophical core of his work, isn't it?
An existential dread bit.
Exactly. He argues the strongest impulse pushing humans towards seeking fusion, which often gets mistaken for love, is this desire to escape the overwhelming anxiety of loneliness.
And that feeling of being separate.
Yes, the sheer existential terror that comes with realizing we're separate. As humans, we become aware of our own unique existence, right? We know we're going to die. We know we're separate from nature, from others. And that awareness creates this deep vulnerability, this feeling of being alone in the universe.
A kind of cosmic loneliness.
You could call it that. It generates this constant, profound restlessness inside. An existential void we feel, this intense pressure to fill.
And Fromm observed people try all sorts of temporary fixes for this,
Yeah.
right? To manage the terror?
All sorts. He talks about total conformity, just trying to blend in completely with the crowd, with society's norms, losing your individuality entirely just so you don't feel isolated or different.
Giving up yourself to belong.
Or the other common route, fleeting chemical solutions, relying heavily on alcohol, drugs, seeking temporary oblivion, trying to dissolve consciousness for a while to silence that anxiety of being a separate, vulnerable self.
But those are just patches, aren't they?
By definition, they're transient. They wear off. And the anxiety, the void, it usually comes back even stronger.
So according to Fromm, what is the only permanent, lasting solution? The one that addresses the separation anxiety without just obliterating the self.
He argues it's achieving genuine fusion with another person in love, attaining that feeling of deep, unifying wholeness, connection.
And this is the crucial part, isn't it? There's a huge caveat.
An absolutely critical one. This fusion must not destroy the individual's sense of self. Their individuality has to remain intact.
So it's not merging into one blob.
No, that's the danger. True love, for Fromm, is a union with another person while both partners remain distinct, whole individuals. If your relationship is mostly just this panic-driven effort to avoid being alone,
Then it's not really love.
it's often what he calls a desperate attempt at symbiosis, or symmetry. It can lead to one person dominating the other, or one person completely sacrificing their own needs and identity just to maintain the connection, to avoid that terror of being alone.
Wow. Okay. That realization right there, that maybe a lot of our most intense relationships are actually built on that sheer, desperate fear of being alone.
Rather than an active, free choice to love.
That's a really startling thought, a kind of transition point.
Yeah,
Because if fear is the foundation, the whole building is unstable, right?
absolutely.
Which brings us back around to love as an active force. If it's not just a passive feeling that happens to us or a refuge from fear,
Oh.
then how do we define it? What is it?
Fromm defines true love very specifically as an active power, something that resides within the person who loves. It's not passive surrender. It's not just being swept away by emotion.
It's more deliberate.
Much more. He explicitly calls it a decision, a conscious judgment, and, importantly, a promise.
A promise, like marriage vows.
In essence, yes, but deeper. It's not just about the initial rush of feelings, the falling part. It's a conscious, rigorous choice that you have to renew and actively implement every single day.
Every day.
Every day. The moment you stop actively choosing, practicing, and maintaining that commitment, that promise, the structure starts to decay. The love starts to wither.
Okay, so this is where it gets really practical and maybe really challenging. If we accept Love is this active choice, this decision, this daily effort.
Hmm.
We need the how. We need the curriculum, right? What are the components of this art form?
Exactly. And Fromm is very clear here. If love is an art, it has to have fundamental ingredients. He identifies 4 core components. And the crucial thing is, all 4 must be present.
All 4, no exceptions.
No exceptions. If even one is missing, Fromm says the connection you have, no matter how intense it feels, is either incomplete or it's distorted, or maybe it's just a counterfeit substitute for genuine love.
Or let's break down this essential quartet. What's the first one?
The first, and he says the most fundamental, is care.
Care. Okay, that sounds simple enough.
It sounds simple, but its application is profound. He defines care as the active concern for the life and growth of what we love. It's the baseline, really.
Active concern. So not just feeling concerned, but doing something.
Precisely. The examples he uses really highlight the difference between just, passive sentimentality and active love. Think about a mother's care for her child.
Right. It's constant work. Vigilance, feeding, cleaning, comforting.
Physical exertion, sacrifice, consistent presence. It's deeply active. Or think about a gardener and a flower, maybe a rose.
Okay.
The gardener might stand back and say, "Oh, I love this rose. It's so beautiful." But if they consistently forget to water it, or don't make sure it gets enough sun, or ignore pests that are eating it.
Then the words, "I love this rose," are pretty empty.
Exactly. They're just passive admiration, not love. The key insight here is that genuine love requires labor, actual work.
Labor. That's a strong word in this context.
It is. We have to be willing to be inconvenienced. In a relationship, this means putting in conscious, sustained effort to understand and meet our partner's emotional needs, supporting their dreams even when it's hard, actively ensuring their well-being, their growth.
So the question becomes, are you willing to lose sleep to comfort them when they're upset? Are you willing to put in energy when you're already exhausted yourself?
That effort, that physical and emotional labor, that is the measure of your care. And therefore, Fromm says, it's a primary measure of your love. Without that active labor, the love is just talk.
Okay, so care is the willingness to labor. What's the second component?
The second is responsibility.
Responsibility. Okay, now that word often feels heavy, doesn't it? Like obligation or duty you don't really want.
And Fromm knew that. He intentionally strips away that negative weight. He connects responsibility directly back to its Latin root, responsum.
Responsum, meaning?
Meaning to be ready to respond. So it shifts the whole concept. It's not a burden forced on you from the outside. It's a voluntary, almost eager, active engagement that comes from within.
So it's about being responsive, ready to answer the call, so to speak.
Exactly. Responsibility in love means willingly responding to the needs of the loved one, both the needs they state outright and maybe more importantly, the needs they express implicitly, maybe non-verbally.
And the key is willingly.
Absolutely key. It has to be driven by an internal desire. And I want to do this for you, not a resentful, grudging, "Ooh, I have to do this."
Can you give a practical example of that?
Sure. Think about, say, your partner is really struggling with a big problem at work. Responsibility here means more than just offering a quick, easy platitude like, "Oh, that sounds tough."
Right.
It means being ready to respond fully. Setting aside your own immediate stuff, maybe turning off the TV or putting down your phone, and truly listening. Making an effort to understand the depth of their stress or frustration.
You're ready to answer their emotional call.
Yes. Whether that call is for quiet support or physical comfort, or maybe they need you to help them think it through logically. You feel willingly responsible for helping them navigate it, for supporting their growth through it, not just for making the immediate unpleasantness go away.
Okay, so care is labor. Responsibility is the readiness to respond willingly. That leads us to the third component, which you mentioned is maybe the trickiest. Respect.
Yes, respect. Fromm sees this as perhaps the most sensitive and philosophically complex element. And it's where, he argues, love most often gets derailed and turns into possessiveness or control.
Why is it so complex?
Because it demands enormous maturity and self-awareness. Respect, in Fromm's framework, means seeing the other person exactly as they are, recognizing and honoring their unique, separate individuality.
Seeing them as they are.
It's fully acknowledging that this other person is a distinct human being. They have their own path, their own goals, their own way of being in the world, their own intrinsic nature, and you accept that.
But here's the tricky part, I think, and where maybe relationships often struggle. Isn't some amount of change or influence necessary for people to grow together? Or does Fromm see any attempt to change the other person as disrespectful?
That's a great question. Fromm would argue that true respect means your love is not primarily an effort to mold the other person into your ideal image.
Ah,
The moment you start thinking, they'd be perfect if only they stopped doing X, or if only they were more like Y, you've stopped respecting them as they are.
You're prioritizing your own preference.
Exactly. You're prioritizing your own ego, your own blueprint for them over their unique reality and their own path. Genuine respect, Fromm says, means allowing and even encouraging their growth in their own direction, even if that direction feels inconvenient to you, or it's different from what you would choose for them.
That's a really critical distinction.
Mm.
It means letting go of control, wanting them to be happy on their terms, not just yours.
Precisely. When we try to change our partner to fit our needs or ideals, we stop respecting who they genuinely are. We start demanding they become who we want them to be.
And that's possessiveness, not love.
Exactly. Furman has a powerful quote about this. He says, genuine respect is allowing the loved one to grow and develop without exploiting or trying to change them. Love without that fundamental respect inevitably devolves into control, manipulation, domination.
Where the goal isn't union, but owning them.
Yes. Or containing them for your own emotional security. A respectful lover desires the joining of two separate strengths, not the submission of one person to the other's will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Care, responsibility, respect. What's the fourth and final element?
The fourth element is the foundation upon which all the others must be built. Knowledge. Or, perhaps better put, understanding.
Knowledge. Okay, how does that fit in?
Fromm argues it's the essential underpinning. You simply cannot truly care for someone you don't profoundly know. You can't respond responsibly to needs you don't understand. And you certainly can't respect the unique individuality of a person whose true inner world remains a mystery to you.
So to practice the art of loving, you have to become a dedicated student of the person you love.
A rigorous student, yes. Pursuing deep knowledge of them is essential.
And we need to be really clear about the depth of knowledge required here, right? This
Oh.
isn't just knowing their favorite color or what they do for work.
Oh, not at all. We're talking about seeing the person within, understanding their hidden landscape, their unconscious fears, the specific defense mechanisms they use, the particular pains or vulnerabilities they carry, maybe from childhood.
And their deepest desires, the things that really drive them, maybe even things they aren't fully aware of themselves.
Exactly. That level of profound understanding. And Fromm says this kind of deep knowledge is achieved primarily through equally profound empathy.
Empathy, putting yourself in their shoes.
Yes, but really committing to it, training yourself to try and see the world not just through your own eyes with your own biases and assumptions, but through theirs, trying to grasp their perspective, their motivations, their internal logic.
And crucially, not just projecting your own feelings onto them, assuming they feel what you would feel in their situation.
Precisely. That projection is the enemy of true knowledge. And there's a powerful connection Fromm makes here, too. He points out that we can never fully know another human being in their absolute depth.
Because we can never fully know ourselves.
Exactly. The quest for knowledge about the other person is deeply intertwined with the quest for self-knowledge. The more we understand our own defenses, our own fears, our own blind spots, the better equipped we are to recognize and understand theirs with compassion.
So respect and knowledge really go hand in hand.
Absolutely. The more you genuinely respect someone's unique individuality, the deeper your desire becomes to truly know and understand their specific inner world. And this deep knowledge then allows your care and your responsibility to be accurate, to be effective.
So you're tending to their actual needs, not just the needs you assume they have based on your own projections.
That's the goal. That's how all four elements weave together.
Okay, so we've laid out the theory. Love as an act of art defined by these four pillars: care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. But Fromm is really insistent on this next point, isn't he? And this feels like the critical turning point for anyone listening.
He absolutely is.
Knowing the theory, understanding these four components, it's completely insufficient on its own.
Utterly insufficient. Just like reading a book about playing the piano doesn't make you a pianist. Or reading about surgical techniques doesn't make you a surgeon.
Mastery requires practice.
Conscious, rigorous, daily practice. This is where we have to move from the philosophical understanding to the, frankly, sometimes mundane and difficult necessities of actually restructuring our habits and behaviors.
To become an artist of loving, as he puts it.
Yes. We have to challenge the way we actually live our lives day to day. And he starts with two fundamental practices: discipline and concentration.
Okay, discipline. That sounds, well, disciplined. Not very romantic.
Perhaps not in the conventional sense, but Fromm saw, even decades ago, that modern life presents a huge challenge here. Our lives are increasingly fast-paced, fragmented,
Distracted.
very distracted,
Yeah.
and heavily geared towards instant gratification. We expect quick results, easy comfort. But love, as an art, requires unrelenting discipline.
What does he mean by discipline in this context? Is it like forcing yourself?
It's more about establishing a rhythm, a consistency in your efforts, developing the ability to love through regular practice rather than just waiting until you feel like it. It means resisting what Fromm bluntly calls the luxury of laziness.
The tendency to put off the effort.
Yes, or postponing the difficult conversation, or avoiding the act of care because you're tired. He asks, if we can't maintain basic discipline in our own personal tasks, if our life is generally chaotic and reactive, how can we possibly hope to maintain the complex, sustained discipline required for loving another person well?
That's a fair point. So discipline provides the structure.
Yeah.
What about concentration?
Discipline needs to merge seamlessly with concentration, which is simply sustained focus. Fromm argues that the ability to truly focus on one thing without your mind wandering off is foundational to loving.
How so?
He suggests that if you want to learn to love, you first have to practice concentrating on simpler things. Can you fully listen to a piece of music without drifting? Can you read a book for an hour without checking your phone every 5 minutes? Can you take a quiet walk and just focus on the walk itself, the sights, the sounds, for 30 minutes?
That sounds surprisingly difficult for many of us today.
It is incredibly difficult, especially now in our age of constant digital pings and alerts and endless scrolling. The relevance to relationships is direct. When you are spending time with the person you love, are you actually fully present?
Or is your mind elsewhere?
Exactly. Are you dedicating your full cognitive and emotional bandwidth to them right then and there? Or is your mind half occupied with work stress, social media anxieties, your internal to-do list?
So concentration is the presence you need to actually apply the care and the knowledge we talked about.
Precisely. Without that focused presence, you might be sharing the same physical space, but you're not truly connecting. You're not practicing active love.
Okay, discipline and concentration. What comes next in terms of practice?
Next, Fromm highlights two qualities that are also quite countercultural, especially today: patience and the capacity for solitude.
Patience. Again, maybe not what people associate with passionate love.
Right, and it's often misunderstood as just passive waiting. But Fromm sees patience as something active. It's effort exerted with unwavering faith, but without demanding immediate results or rewards.
Trusting the process, even when it's slow.
Exactly. You can't rush growth, whether it's learning a skill, cultivating a garden, or nurturing a relationship. Fromm uses this wonderful analogy.
Oh, yeah?
He says, the person who thinks all fruits ripen at the same time as blackberries, well, that person knows nothing about grapes.
Ah, I like that. Grapes take time.
Grapes take time. True love, like growing grapes, requires consistent effort day in, day out, week after week. You have to have faith that the commitment itself, the tending, is worthwhile, regardless of how quickly you see the fruit. We have to let go of that instant return mentality that we apply to everything else, from stock market investments to fad diets. Love just doesn't work on that kind of accelerated schedule.
That requires a lot of faith, actually. This links to another point later, I think. But first, the other quality you mentioned, the capacity for solitude. This one feels really paradoxical. How can being good at being alone be essential for being good at loving someone else?
It does seem paradoxical, doesn't it? And it completely challenges that whole cultural narrative about needing someone else to complete you.
The you complete me idea.
Fromm directly attacks that. He states, quite unequivocally, that a dependent person, someone who fundamentally cannot stand on their own 2 feet psychologically, someone who uses the relationship primarily as a way to manage their own anxiety and deep fear of being alone, that person cannot truly love.
Wow. Cannot truly love.
Why not? Because their attempts at connection aren't coming from a place of strength, generosity, or free choice. They're coming from a place of weakness, of neediness. It's fundamentally rooted in a kind of panic for self-preservation, not an overflowing desire to give love.
So if the relationship's main function is to soothe that fear of loneliness for both people,
then Fromm would call it a refuge, a kind of shared bunker against the scary world outside, not a true act of love. You're essentially using the other person as an emotional anesthetic, and they're likely doing the same to you.
so the prerequisite for real love is being okay on your own first.
Yes. We have to strive to find a measure of inner peace, self-reliance, and wholeness alone first. so that any relationship we then enter becomes what he calls a union of strength.
Not a union of two half people trying to make a whole.
Exactly. It's a celebration, a sharing between two independent, whole individuals who choose to share their lives rather than clinging together out of fear or incompleteness.
That's a huge ask. How do we build that inner strength?
Well, that leads directly to the final two practices. Fromm emphasizes, which are deeply intertwined, faith and courage.
Okay, faith and courage. Let's start with faith. Faith in what?
Loving, Fromm argues, is fundamentally an act of faith. Several kinds of faith, actually. First, it's having faith in the potential, the honesty, the fundamental core goodness of the person you love.
Even when they mess up.
Especially when they mess up, even when they fail or disappoint you, or when their behavior is confusing or difficult to reconcile. It's the faith to see past their immediate flaws or their defense mechanisms.
To the core person underneath. The person they're striving to be.
Exactly. And just as critically, it requires faith in our own capacity to love. Faith that we can sustain the effort, that our love has value, that our commitment can actually foster growth, even when the path feels uncertain or requires us to be vulnerable.
And that vulnerability, that's where courage comes in, I assume.
Absolutely. Vulnerability is the domain of courage. Fromm insists that to truly love requires immense courage. Why? Because it demands that we accept the risks inherent in any deep, authentic connection.
What risks?
The risk of rejection, certainly. The absolute certainty of disagreement and conflict at times. The high probability of experiencing disappointment, maybe even profound hurt.
Loving means opening yourself up to being hurt.
It does. Love, for Fromm, is ultimately the courage to let down our defenses, to stop holding back parts of ourselves for protection, to expose our most authentic, fragile, sometimes messy, imperfect self to another person and trust them with it.
Wow, so if you're constantly playing defense, always prioritizing protecting yourself.
Then you're prioritizing fear over connection, and love simply cannot thrive in an atmosphere of fear and self-protection.
So seizing that courage, choosing faith over fear, letting down the defenses, that's the moment we shift, isn't it? From being passive waiters for love to becoming active artists of love.
Indeed. That's the core of Erich Fromm's incredibly challenging but also incredibly empowering message. Loving is an act of power. It's an exercise of the human spirit, maybe the highest exercise. And it's something that has to be continually disciplined, refined, practiced day after day.
It's the absolute opposite of a passive gift that just lands in your lap through luck or destiny.
The complete antithesis.
And so if you're listening to this and you find that your relationships tend to follow that pattern, intense beginning, then they wear thin, the passion fades after the initial excitement.
That lightning strike fizzles out.
Right. From Fromm's advice, his direction, is to completely change your focus. Stop the obsessive search for the perfect person, the magical one.
And instead,
commit yourself fully to learning how to be the right person. The person who actively, skillfully, and courageously practices the art of loving.
it's a journey, isn't it? A lifelong one. And it demands self-reflection and real effort in parts of your life that might seem unrelated to the relationship itself, like your personal discipline, your ability to concentrate, your comfort with being alone.
But the clarity from Fromm provides
Yeah.
these 4 components, these practices. It does give us a roadmap, an actionable path forward, even if it's a difficult one.
It does. It makes it concrete.
So we really want to leave you, the listener, with some concrete steps, something you can actually start doing this week to begin practicing this art.
Okay.
First step, conduct a really honest audit of your own loving behaviors in your key relationships. Think about those 4 core components: care, responsibility, respect, knowledge. Where does your consistent effort actually go? Be brutally honest with yourself.
Good first step. What's second?
Second, identify which of those 4 components gets the least active effort or focus from you. Is it really putting in the labor of care to support their dreams, even when it's inconvenient? Is it the respect you might fail to show when you subtly try to change them or criticize their choices?
Or maybe it's the knowledge you neglect, failing to make the effort to truly understand their inner world, their anxieties, their perspective. Find your weakest link.
Exactly. Find that area you tend to neglect. And finally, third step, spend this coming week making just one conscious brushstroke in that neglected area. Just one small, intentional act.
Like what?
Maybe discipline yourself to practice. Concentration. Put your phone away and focus fully for just 10 minutes while listening to them without interrupting. Or exert the courage needed for knowledge and respect. Share something genuinely vulnerable about yourself that you normally keep guarded.
The key is the conscious practice, starting small, but starting.
Yes, the practice is everything.
And love, understood in this Frommian sense, really is a continuous challenge. It's demanding. It asks for everything we have, our energy, our focus, our courage. But Fromm's promise is that only by accepting this profound, rigorous challenge can the true power of love.
The power to connect deeply without losing ourselves.
Can that power actually manifest in your life? So maybe a final thought to mull over, a provocative question based on all this. If your most important relationship, romantic or platonic, were to dissolve tomorrow, what would you mourn more? Would you mourn the loss of the unique, specific person and their individuality that you respected and knew? Or would you primarily mourn the loss of your refuge?
The comfortable safety net. The thing that kept you from having to face the silence or the difficulty of standing completely on your own.
It's a tough question, but an important one for understanding the real foundation of our connections.
Definitely something to think about. We hope this deep dive gives you plenty to explore and reflect on.